So I'm going to start working on the electrical conduit and the plug that's on here and the little junction box. What we're going to essentially be doing is we'll create the pipe work first, then we'll mirror the body across its longitudinal length, and then we'll add in the separate details. And then when we go to mirror for the other half of the wagon, we'll just do a copy and rotate rather than mirroring, because both sides are identical. What part of the reason that I'm doing this is obviously that the part on the end here, which the gantry straddles the wagon, is only on one half of the wagon, so it makes sense to do that rotation, copy rotation, rather than a straight on mirror, because that part's not on both of them, but it's on opposite corners on each end. So it will make sense as we go through it, but essentially we're starting with this pipe work today. Okay, so because the pipe work sits, obviously it's slightly off of the chassis here, what we're going to do is create an offset plane. So construction, drop down offset plane, and then we're going to offset it from the inside face of this recessed area that we've created. And I'm just going to bring it out by 0.1 millimeters. So we're going to use probably a 0.3 millimeter diameter pipe. So that will give us a 0.5 overlap into the body, so it's connected and isn't floating. So we've created that offset plane. And I'm going to create a sketch on that offset plane. So looking at this picture, we can see that the pipe comes along straight and then drops down just above where the wheel set is here. And that goes pretty much straight all the way across the wagon, drops down that point, and then back up into the side of the chassis. So to create the pipe, we've obviously got this sketch created. We're going to select the line tool, and then we're going to select the line. But I'm going to do project first. I'm going to project those edges on just so that we can constrain to those. I'm going to select the line tool, and then I'm going to run it from the side, slightly below where the top rail is. I'm going to bring it just inside, as you can see on this picture, just inside where the top of the chassis is here. So I'm going to come to somewhere like that. If we define the length, 39.5, that's what it's going to work out as. I'm not going to define the height at the moment, because what I want to do is I want to run a pipe along there. I want to work out roughly how high it wants to look before I start doing that. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish that sketch and then do pipe, select that line that we just created, and I'm going to change the section size to 0.3, and I'm going to do a join. We'll rotate around 90 degrees and see how that's why I've done this offset plane 0.1 millimeter from the side, so that we've got this offset and it's actually selected into the side of the chassis. See, it goes all the way along there where we want it, and click OK. That then joins that pipe onto the chassis there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is create a sketch again off that plane 6, which is that offset plane we originally had, and we've got a straight section that just sits there. So I'm going to create a sketch off of construction plane 6, sorry. And we're going to do a line. Look at how far across that is. Not very far at all. So somewhere sort of that region. Like that. And it's going to go up slightly. Finish that. And pipe that as well. Happy with that. And the reason I've left this gap is just to show you a different tool that we can use to join two things together like this. So if we do create and then loft, select that profile face and then that profile face, and you can see how it automatically joins the profile together the same way as it would have done if I had just drawn the line. But it just gives you a different way of creating two ways of joining things together like that. Okay, before we go and define everything around these pipes fully, what I'm going to do is they're all held in place using these little brackets here. Now within Paul's measurements and sheets that he's given me, he has actually provided me with the correct spacing for these brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw one of these brackets on in the correct place, and that will then define where this part of the model should be, or the pipe should be. So to create this, I'm going to create a sketch on this inside face. I'm just going to use, it's just a small rectangle really piece. So I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm going to do it as 0.4 millimeters wide and 0.7 millimeters tall. Okay, and its distance from these eyelets is 58.5 inches. So if we define from this corner to this corner of the eyelet here, and we do 58.5 and then the inches divided by 148, that puts that bracket in this position here. So we can see how we're going to have to move all of these lot across to accommodate for this. Before I extrude those, I'm going to move these parts across. So I'm going to start by editing this sketch and moving this to define its correct position. So height wise, I'm going to go for 0.2 millimeters on height there, and length I'm going to go for 3 millimeters, and then the length of this part 1.3, and then I'm going to move it across relative to this. So at the moment it's 5.7, I'm going to go for 4.5, and the height of that to there, so that the angle is then defined as 0.5. Finish that sketch. Probably going to want to move that across a bit more so that I can get a little bit better angle on there. So again, coming back into the sketch, I'm going to move this across, so 3.75. And then I'm going to go back into the original pipe here. I'm going to increase that length to 41 millimeters. See where that sits. So look at that picture. That bracket's not too far off there now. I might just move that last one up just a little bit more, so about another half a millimeter. So 41.5 millimeters. Yep. Okay, and just notice we didn't define the height. So I'm going to do that as 0.35 millimeters. That's given us that all defined there. So I'm going to go back into the sketch for the bracket we've created, holding shift down to select the two top and bottom parts, and then in a profile, and hold the left mouse button down till this drop down comes, and then profile, and then I'm going to extrude that to 0.3 millimeters, join, and then we're going to mirror this across. So not mirror, pattern it across. So pattern, features, select that extrusion, and there's 8 of them along the wagon, so we need another 4 of them. So the axis will be lengthwise 4, and then the spacing between them works out as 62.5 millimeters. So if I just, sorry, 62.5 inches. I'm just going to do some quick maths on that. So the gap between them should be 1587 millimeters. So if we come to 33 mil initially, and then we'll inspect to see what the distance between them is. 10.6 millimeters at the moment. So the 1587 millimeters between them works out at 10.7 millimeters, and obviously that's got to account for the width of the part as well. So we're probably not too far off going that distance we've just gone with the spacing, which was 33 millimeters. Yeah, so we've got at the moment a gap between them. Corner to corner, 10.6, and we're looking for 10.7. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. It's probably there or thereabouts. So the next thing I'm going to work on is this little junction box here. Now Paul's given me a dimension from that bracket to the side of the junction box is 27.5 inches, and the junction box is 6.25 inches by 7.75 inches. So we're looking in this area here. I'm going to create a sketch on this face. I'm just going to use a little rectangle, and we're going to draw it in that area there. Now, being careful not to select any parts that it's going to constrain to. We can then define distances. So the size of the junction box here would be 6.25 inches divided by 148, and the height is 7.75 inches divided by 1.5. I'm going to find the height of the top corner to the edge. Going to reduce that, I'm going to come to 0.2 so that it's overlapping and the junction box actually goes in. And then the distance, as I said, from this corner, so it's the right hand side of the box, to assuming that, try again, so find that corner, and I get that point there, the corner of that unit there is 27.5 inches divided by 148, and then we've got that in the correct position. I'm actually going to just reduce this to 0.1, just so that that's actually above that pipe. We can then select all of those profiles, and the depth of the junction box is 4 inches. So do 4 divided by 148. Oops, that's a cut. Let's redo that. Edit profile. Change that to join. And the junction box is drawn on there. Lovely. Actually, that's probably going to stick out too far if we do that the correct size. It's beyond the size of the rail there. So let's just edit that. I'm just going to reduce that. I'm going to do 0.5. So unfortunately the junction box isn't actually being measured, so we're just going to sort of make it look right. So draw a sketch on this inside face again, and we can see looking at the box, it's sort of, the top of it is coincidence with the bottom of this, and it's off to the left of it by a couple of inches. So now select that corner. I'm not actually pressing the button, I'm just selecting it so I can get this blue line, which snaps those two together. I'm just going to drag a box out that looks about the right sort of size. So I'm going to give it a dimension of 0.6 millimeters in width. And I'm probably going to give this 0.8 millimeters in height. Define the distance from the edge of that box as 0.4 millimeters. and then I'm going to vertically, horizontally constrain that corner to the bottom corner of that box that's locked into position. I'm going to extrude this, and we're going to come forwards 0.5 millimeters, tell it to join. Now I know that's a rectangle and this is circular on the end, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, not fillet, I'm going to chamfer off this bottom corner. At the moment that's going to go sort of relatively equal distances. I'm just going to change that to 2 distance. I'm just going to create a little bit more of an angle on this top edge. So there's 0.4 down on the inside side and 0.5 on the top face. I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to create a sketch on that angle with a circle on it. I'm going to find the midpoints by selecting 2 midpoints where them triangles come up, and I can drag to the middle and it snaps into the middle position. And I'm going to create a 0.5 diameter circle, select that inside profile, and then drag that out 0.3 millimeters, tell it to join as well. Okay, so it doesn't look exactly like what we've got here. Probably, in fact, what we could possibly do if we edit this, try and make it a little bit more upright. So I'm just going to drag this to 0.3 there. Like that. Redefine the sketch plane on that circle. Select that one. And we're probably going to have to edit the sketch. Yeah, it doesn't like it. So you've got to go back in there, find those 2 midpoints. I'm going to do 0.45 millimeter diameter circle there. And then we'll extrude that 0.3 millimeters. And join. Then what we'll have to do is remove that. That one. Okay, so we've removed the original one we've just drawn. And we can turn off the sketch because that just looks a bit messy with that like that. That's better. Okay, so it's not a perfect representation of that socket, but it gives us the right sort of shapes. The next thing I'm going to do is the little pipe that goes around. If we remember, we've got pipe on this plane, that offset plane. So create a sketch on plane 6, and I'm going to use an arc tool, I think, for that. So I'm going to need to create points on here just so that I can snap to it. So point, I'm going to project actually the top of that and the side of that, and then we can draw those 2 points. So I want the midpoint there. I'm going to draw a point here and then define the height of that point, 0.5 millimeters. I'm going to draw a 3-point arc using that midpoint to that one. I'm just going to drag that out so it looks like it's given the right sort of shape. Finish the sketch and then pipe on that. So that doesn't give me quite what I'm after. So if I just drag that, it won't drag in any further unfortunately. So I'm going to have to readjust this to make it look right. So cancel that. We go back into that sketch. I'm going to delete that arc. I'm going to draw a small line coming up 0.1 millimeters. And I'm going to draw a line coming out of here some 0.2mm just to try and make this more of a 90-degree bend, and then do tangent arc, and we'll go from that point to that point, and then we'll use the tangent tool to tangent that to that as well, which it won't do unfortunately, which means it probably needs this to come out more. So we can extend this to 0.3. In fact, it's probably, if we do it 0.35, it'll be the same. No, it's not looking right there. 0.3. 0.3 actually looks better there. So 0.3, finish the sketch, and then we'll pipe that. That looks much better. The next thing we'll do is add the junction boxes and conduit coming down to the lightings. So we've got one on here. So create a sketch on that inside surface. Just going to use the circular tool here. I'm going to try and get roughly in the midpoint of where this pipe would be. And create a circle. I'm going to go for 0.7mm in diameter. I'm going to define the distance from there to the end of the light. Go for 1.8mm, and then select the profile and extrude out the join. I'm going to go 0.4mm and join that. And then we're going to draw the conduit. Probably actually needs to be closer. So let's edit sketch. I'm going to reduce that down to 1mm. Yep, that looks better. Finish that, and then we're going to create a sketch on plane 6, which was that offset plane that we created. And we're going to project on the circle and the light fitting. Click on OK on project. Then I'm going to create a point on the midpoint of the light. We've already got a point on the inside here that we can line up off. So we're going to select that circle, we'll draw a line. We're going to bring that line roughly in line with the top of the light. And then we're going to create another line from that midpoint. I'm going to come out. I'm going to come out 0.5mm. And then we're going to do that tangent arc again from, so we're going to do the arc, tangent arc from that line into that one. I'm probably going to move these around a little bit to try and make it fit. Let's increase that to 0.6 mil, and I'm going to reduce the height of this to 0.5, probably a little bit longer, 0.55. That's better, more tangent. And then we're going to use the pipe tool on that line with that 0.3 diameter pipe that we've been using for the conduit. And that's that complete. Okay, so what we're going to do is just mirror this across now. So I'm just going to skip back in the history a little bit to before the junction box was created. Because we don't need to mirror the junction box over. So we're going back in the history to where that rectangular pattern for the conduit clips were, and we're going to do create, mirror, then we're going to select that main body, and the mirror plane is going to be the end face or the inner face of the wagon. Click OK and join, and then if we jump back through the history, we have to redefine these positions. Okay, so let's have a look at the map loss projection and see what it doesn't like. So it doesn't like that corner, which we can just redefine that point. Click on the point. Try again. manage rough section. Point 1, relink. Okay. Sketch still doesn't like it. Manage rough section there. Point 1, relink. See what the options are. So let's cancel that. We're going to delete that. Delete the point, and then define the distance from there to there, which is that 4.72 it's just had. Finish sketch, that's fine. This has gone a bit skewish here. So that's this one. No, it's not, it's that one there. Edit sketch. And it's the height. That's coincidence. So that should be vertically constrained to that point, which it's not. Delete that constraint. Try and work out why this is constrained at that point and not come down. Let's delete that, delete that, delete that. So that's constrained to something here for some reason. Constrain that to that. Will it move now? Yep. So you're going to have to refix these. So that point there wants to be constrained to. Let's undo that. Bring that down. Define. So we have the width was 0.6. The height was 0.7. And we vertically, let's put that distance in here. It's 0.4. And vertically constrain that point to that point. Finish that sketch. Let's fix that. Okay, so sometimes when you make changes like that, for some reason I don't know why that was playing around, but obviously you see how I've managed to go around and fix that. And we now need to look at the light conduit for this one here. And the light is in the same, the conduit's in the same position to the left of it. So we can, in fact, I've just done that as a new sketch. What we can do is copy these or repeat them. So select the features there, which are those two which is created, the axis, which is along the wagon. We need two of them, and we should be able to drag this along. So I'm going to go drag it along by 33.65. It's not ever so slightly inside, but that's going to work fine. And that's now added that in quite simply there. Having now got all that conduit and stuff in, I'm going to leave this episode at this point here because it's starting to get quite long. So I hope you've been able to follow along and you've seen how I've gone around copying things, moving things, and fixing errors once we've created them. It takes a little bit of work and understanding of what's causing the problem, and sometimes it's better just to start again with certain parts. But yeah, we're at this point now. I'm relatively happy. Hope you guys have been able to follow along. and thanks for watching.